I was accused of threatening him and pursuing him to his car, claims that were later found to be entirely unfounded. Thank you, Summit Police Department. Let me be clear, no one should ever hesitate to call the police if they feel unsafe or need help. I do not believe that's what happened here. What happened was an attempt to weaponize law enforcement for political gain.
Just because something doesn't rise to the legal level of harassment does not mean that somebody did not feel attacked. So the fact that people are saying that he lied and filed a false police report is really disturbing, and council members are participating in that.
I thought it was disgraceful with Mr. Crisafulli when he went and he made his video, his campaign video, talking about how he was threatened, but then told the police that he felt threatened. You know, he used that opportunity to, try to leverage the whole situation with his phony baloney persona.
And actually, when he had the footage of his interaction with him, you saw that it really wasn't that. And then when you really listen to what Dan said and all the evidence, the cameras that are in here, you clearly saw something was constructed that didn't happen. Now, if somebody's really genuinely threatened and feels worried, of course they should go to the police. But if there's a real basis for that, you shouldn't have to lie and manipulate things to frame it that way.
This is the time for the public to come and make comments for anything that was not on the agenda. Would just remind the public to come up, give your name, your address, and please try and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi guys.
Hi.
Rachel Kramer, 88 Elm Street, Summit, New Jersey. Over the past few weeks, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with my 3 minutes, but then I saw a recent post that made it clear. A post on the official Summit Democratic page by a vocal Democratic surrogate that read, "If you support any Republican, you support the destruction and harm the GOP is doing to this country. There is no separation between being a Republican on the national arena and a Republican on the local stage." That post was liked by the Summit Democrats account, effectively co-signed by local Democrat leaders such as Michelle and Claire and candidates Jacqueline, Dan, and Chantel. That post and that endorsement reflect what's happened to our local political culture. It's no longer about dialogue or community. It's about division, hostility, and the belief that if you disagree, you're the enemy and you don't care. 4 years ago, I might have read that post and nodded along before I was blocked from their page. But that changed when the Democratic-led council introduced the gas leaf blower ban as a pilot in March of 2021. I spoke out against it, not because I opposed cleaner, quieter landscaping, but because of how it was done without meaningful input from residents and the workers it affected. Despite being a lifelong Democrat, I was met with hostility from the former chair of the SMDC. I was told I cared more about profits over people, and I was even asked if I was fluent in Spanish after mentioning I'd spoken with landscapers. That pattern continued. When I raised concerns about Broad Street West, I was publicly scolded by a vocal Summit Municipal Democrat supporter, and the community was told that the opposition and questions were somehow connected to redlining and racism. When I asked questions about the closure of Maple Street, questions we now know were valid since DOT approval was never received, I was labeled a troll, a bot, and a Republican surrogate. And most recently, after asking candidate Dan Crisafulli whether he supports the At Home in Summit project and whether he agrees with the SMDC's brand of campaign attacks, I was accused of threatening him and pursuing him to his car, claims that were later found to be entirely unfounded. Thank you, Summit Police Department. Let me be clear, no one should ever hesitate to call the police if they feel unsafe or need help. I do not believe that's what happened here. What happened was an attempt to weaponize law enforcement for political gain. The evidence to support these claims is now publicly available through Oprah request, and it consisted only of public questions and emails to his campaign email address. This is what political violence looks like at the local level. It doesn't begin with political harm. It begins with the dehumanization and vilification of people who ask questions and disagree. And it worsens when others stay silent and encourage, enable, and like it. This is about more than Dan Crisafulli's false police report and lies. It's about a culture that rewards silence,
Ms. Kramer,
punishes
please finish
dissent,
up.
and confuses control with leadership. If that's what passes for politics in Summit now, then every resident, regardless of party, should be alarmed. And we should all demand accountability, honesty, and basic decency from those who want to lead us. Anything less is an insult to this town and its residents. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments. Other comments from the public?
Tracy Keegan, I'm a resident of Summit. I first moved here in 1994. Over the past few months, local Republican leaders have positioned themselves as defenders of free speech. But for years, they've worked to silence opposing voices, from putting up barriers to a First Amendment protected rally on the Village Green, to tolerating aggressive and slanderous behavior from their supporters, to degrading public safety by allowing council members to weaponize Oprah police calls. I recently found out that this effort to suppress goes much deeper. In April, Delia Hamlet was CC'd on an email from her supporter to a nearby town clerk asking whether it would be possible to block non-residents from speaking at our council meetings. This inquiry came just before the controversial vote to criminalize homelessness, when Ms. Hamlet knew that people would be coming in droves to speak out against it. From the email, I'm a resident in Summit, and I am on the Board of Health. At a recent meeting, one of your council members mentioned that you do not allow outside residents to comment during public comments. I mentioned this to one of our current council members, Delia Hamlet, who I have included on the email, and she is curious how you went about establishing that in your bylaws. Can you please point us to your city attorney and/or any current information that you may have so they can work on implementing this in Summit? The town clerk replied, "Good morning, I am unaware of any council member making such a statement. All members of the public are welcome to speak at any public meeting. If you have more information of which council member said this, I will investigate the misunderstanding." To that, Ms. Hamlet's supporter clarified. She was at a Board of Health meeting a few weeks ago and mentioned that outside residents are not permitted to speak. I believe it was Chatham Borough, not Township. If this is not them, then don't worry about it. Summit would like to implement this if there was such a bylaw. It turns out there is no bylaw, and since it's likely viewpoint discrimination, that makes it illegal. This email, which I am submitting here tonight, makes clear that there have been active efforts behind the scenes by Delia Hamlet, a government official, to limit free speech. Free speech is a bedrock American ideal, and any attempt by government officials to limit who gets to be heard should alarm every person, no matter their party, who values democracy. This is disturbing behavior, and our community deserves better. And just as a side note, I wanted to mention that in terms of the police findings that harassment did not occur, just because something doesn't rise to the legal level of harassment does not mean that somebody did not feel attacked. So the fact that people are saying that he lied and filed a police report, false police report, is really disturbing, and council members are participating in that. As you all know, I have also been the victim of people operating police calls, and I have spoken with you both for many, many months.
Ms. Keegan, can you finish up, please?
I will. You've never made any attempt to tell the public that they should not be afraid to call 911, that they should not be afraid their neighbors are going to open police calls and shame them, because that's a real threat to public safety.
Thank you.
Yes, you allow people to shout out from the audience, and now you're...
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments from the public?
Good evening, Mayor, Council President. First, I want to say my condolences to the family of Gil. It sounds like he was a very dedicated community member, and my condolences go to his family. Also want to say I'm glad that we made up, Mr. Giacob. Good man, you know, my whole team loved you, you know, because you let the presider run the meeting. You know, we've been to over 500 meetings probably in the last few years, and you know, it's nice to see an attorney who I'm glad we made up. It's nice to see an attorney let the presider run the meeting. And I'm glad we made up, Mr. Boyer, because when I first came here, I was giving you hell. Hell in a handbasket every day, you know, and after we had a discussion, I realized you're a good guy, you know. And I'm glad we made up, Mr. McTurnan. You know, you have thick skin, you know. I played a song, I mocked you, I did all these things, and you took the criticism, you know. You took it well, you know. It's a big part of government, being able to take criticism. You know, last time when I was here and I was speaking with my team, I didn't realize what was happening behind me, but Mr. Crisafulli wound up, when I said the name in the spirit of Charlie Kirk, I noticed he started doing some signals, and it seemed as if he was signaling to Claire and possibly Michelle. I don't know if there's any sort of, you know, if you want to touch on this, I'd love to, but it seemed like he was telling you when you heard Charlie Kirk to, like, leave, get away from the podium. I'm not sure what happened. In the spirit of Charlie Kirk, I want to say, everybody's got to say what they're needing to say. Just as soon as they're needing to say it, the freedom to speak. But after I handed you a flag, you did get up and leave, and I don't know if maybe you want to touch on that. If what was that all about? Maybe you just had to go, and that's understandable. And I've been in meetings all over New Jersey, and a lot of you guys are very attentive. All of you, you stick with it. You don't leave. You know, you do have to go to the bathroom every now and then, but for the most part, you were all very much, you know, like taking part, and you take your roles seriously. So I do thank all of you across the board for that. There was a recent U.gov poll, and it was talking about political violence, and this was from the government. It said 77% of conservatives said that violence is never accepted, should never be accepted, where only 38% of left-leaning liberals said that it was never accepted, just to give a little bit of insight into, you know, the political dealings with, you know, party politics and everything like that. I thought it was disgraceful with Mr. Crisafulli when he went and he made his video, his campaign video, talking about how he was threatened, but then told the police that he felt threatened. You know, he used that opportunity to, you know, try to leverage the whole situation with his phony baloney persona. You know, trying to say that Councilman Smallwood attacked two other council members for giving an over-exaggerated account of another councilwoman's, you know, stuff working with the homeless. I used to be homeless for a little bit, and I'm pretty, you know, that touches my heart. And there's a way to make your point without looking like completely like just one-sided, like, you know, just shame somebody for the work they do. You know, I think there's a better way to go about that.
Please wrap it up.
Sure. Yeah, and then I also thought it was pretty disturbing how Chief Peters over here, sitting, kind guy, you know, you watch Dan Crisafulli come over and he's belittling him, he's berating him and everything like that. That persona that you see when he makes his videos, that's what he wants you to believe, but we all got a good insight of how he really is hot-headed and does not have a way to level himself out or whatever.
Thank you very much.
This is why 3 minutes is not good enough, and then we're going to every meeting I'm going to bring this up.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public?
Kevin McGoey, 113 Woodland Avenue. I want to talk about the what Dan Crisafulli did with respect to his police report. I think it's a very dangerous precedent that was set, and actually he turns out I don't think he was the one that said it in his interview. Like when Dan came out on September 5th and said that he was threatened at his car and followed by two supporters of Kevin Smallwood, and they were following his lead, that was very disturbing. You know, that we reached that level where people are actually threatening a candidate. So, and then that was followed up by the tap into everything else. So this went out broadly. Dan spread that around. And then when somebody Oprah'd his body cam footage, and actually when he had the footage of his interaction with him, you saw that it really wasn't that. And then when you really listen to what Dan said and all the evidence, the cameras that are in here, you clearly saw something was constructed that didn't happen. Now, if somebody's really genuinely threatened and feels worried, of course they should go to the police. But if there's a real basis for that, you shouldn't have to lie and manipulate things to frame it that way. So, you know, I think that what Dan was really tired of and what the evidence he showed was people just asking him questions. Nothing was threatening. There was no vulgarity. And he actually did say threats. He changed what you said. Literally, he gave this testimony less than an hour after it happened and said that you said you were gonna follow him. And if you really think about the balance of power, you're talking about a wealthy man, right, with 2 Ivy League degrees going to the police, telling them that this man threatened them. And I don't think you have the same means as Dan. So there's a real imbalance of power, and you kind of came out of nowhere, and you're kind of unconventional. It's easy for somebody to say, oh, here's a troublemaker, and then just believe him. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff that Dan did, and it's criminal. It's criminal to lie to the police. It's criminal in an investigation to lie to the police. It's literally a criminal offense. We have somebody running for office that did this, and then nobody's condemned it. The SMDC's actually condoned it and turned him into the victim. He did the same thing to Rachel. She's a resident. There's nothing. Yeah, I get she's annoying if she's asking a lot of questions you don't want to answer. But if you just answer them, you guys, Michelle and Claire, you don't answer any of my questions. I mean, you win because I eventually stopped sending email. Like to construct this in a way that it's not. And then, Dan said that there was another council member that did it. And then it's like, okay, well, who else did it? Oprah did. Jacqueline did the same thing. And for Jacqueline, took stuff out of context, used words like Rachel sent her a bizarre number of emails. It's like 4 or 5, and I think she CC'd like almost everybody else up here on it. So I think these things, I'm worried that the city's not taking what happened nearly as serious as it needs to take it. Because politics have gotten to the point where people are literally using the police, and this is a valuable resource that we all pay for, to go after people who are literally asking people who are running for office questions. Not using vulgarity, not threatening them, just asking them questions.
Kevin.
And you guys can't even condemn it.
Kevin, can you wrap it up?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public? If there's no further comments from the public,
We had 3 residents from Summit Housing Authority sitting in the corner. They didn't even get a chance to speak. So when a resident came up here tonight and she said, I was copied on an email. I'm copied on a lot of emails. I got news for you. And yes, I was copied on an email, the date of April 22nd, which was when I think we met Mikey here. I think that was your first experience here at Summit. Yeah, it was that day. I think it was that day. So that was the first day where we met our special friend here and all of his friends. And everybody was bussed in from outside of the community to talk about the homeless ordinance, the anti-camping ordinance. And, I've been to more meetings till 2 a.m. than most of y'all up here. Not to say that you're all not in them, but I'm at the planning board and I'm just at some late meetings. And so to say that I was part of an email exchange where I was advocating that the public, members from outside of the public can't come to our meeting, I will tell you this in all transparency. Sometimes I wish that those 3 residents, if they were there that night on April 22nd, I think sometimes they have a right to speak first. They may not agree with me, may not disagree with me, but the facts are we're all here rambling, and 3 people from our Summit Housing Authority who are living in poor conditions, being evicted, and overcharged on their rent or security deposits couldn't speak tonight. And so when that supporter came to me that morning and she said, I'm telling you, I just heard that Chatham's not allowing non-residents. Now this is 9:22 in the morning. I pulled up the email. 9:22 on the date of April 22nd. And she copied the Chatham Borough Clerk and said, I heard that at your meetings you're not allowing non-residents. How did you do that? Because I think Summit might want to do that too. I don't think I responded. I'll have Rosie check all my emails, but I don't think I responded to this particular chain. And the borough clerk comes back and she says, well, that's not us. That's a mistake. Maybe it's another borough. And so the supporter kind of rests their case. And I mentioned that night as long of a night as it was, I said, it's important to hear different perspectives from the community. That's why we do this, right? The last council had 0 dialogue. It was like robots up here, right? I've disagreed with my colleagues up here, right? We don't think the same. I'm sorry I'm talking too much, but It's very frustrating when somebody says that I'm trying to silence people. That's the last thing I'm doing. I'm listening to everybody. I got more emails than I even know what to do with. There are no more minutes in my day to listen to people. I've tried. I can't find any more. And so the accusation that I'm trying to shut residents out is patently false and could not be further from the truth. And what happened to our residents? You know, I didn't know a lot about filing false police reports until recently. I had never been involved with any of that. So I'm learning as we go. And I think one of the things that I think I've learned in having some of our non-residents come is asking tough questions that we may not know the answers to that somebody else knows, right? And pushing the envelope a little bit. But, you know, that's what makes us good elected officials. And, you know, tonight I will say this. I think 3 minutes was a little too short in a few instances. I do. I think 4 minutes, I'm just saying, I know Rosie's not going to be happy with me, but I've noticed every speaker up here was almost about to be over 3 minutes. And they had important things to say at the end of that 3 minutes. Now, listen, I don't think everybody should come up here and speak for 5 minutes. But I think maybe like 3 to 3:30, 3:45. I think people have they've been listening to us for 5 hours. Yeah. The last thing I will say is I do think that as far as the false accusations from certain individuals to police reports, I think it's really, really important that we take it very seriously. Our police officers are our most valuable asset in keeping our community safe. And every minute we waste of their time is time that could be spent helping someone who has another really, really important and serious issue. So if those accusations are false, then I think that we should all hold those individuals responsible. And as someone said tonight, it's a really, really big deal. And people should feel safe to call the police, but they should not feel safe to file false police reports. That's not okay. It's not okay.
As far as a comment around, going to the police, obviously people should feel free to go to the police. I think Councilwoman Hamlet articulated very well what the nuances around that are, so I applaud her for saying that. I feel sorry that you two, Ms. Kramer and Mr. Anonymous, went through that. No one should have to go through that. It was sad. But I do want to applaud our police department, who, as I knew they would, was very professional in how they handled the situation there. People should feel, as I mentioned, they should go to police. They should call the police when they have issues. Summit we work very, very hard up here to make Summit a safe community. And so we take that very, very seriously. But we do have scarce resources. Our police are stretched thin, even though we've added police officers, particularly at night. We have four police patrolling, usually, something like that, maybe. But
we don't discuss it.
yeah, we don't want to discuss it. So I'm giving that too much in, but we have plenty. But my point is,
we have a whole team of them.
Yeah, my point is, no one has unlimited resources, so we should use them wisely. As far as opering police records, you can't have it both ways. We get Oprah'd all the time. Government is made to be Oprah'd. It's a Freedom of Information Act, and we work for the community, our citizens. The police work for our citizens. And if a citizen wants to look at something, they have every right to look at it. And you can't restrict it in any way, shape, or form.
Gotta be quick, gotta be fast. Speak my truth, I hope it will last. 3 minutes ain't enough, no. 3 minutes ain't enough, oh. Always cutting us off. Your 3 minutes ain't enough, no. Mayor smirking, gavel is loud. Important voices in the crowd. Every single speaker getting plowed down.